Today we are going to talk about logocentrism, one of the most important concepts in post-structuralism and deconstruction in particular. It is closely associated with Jacques Derrida. For centuries, Western philosophy has operated under the assumption that there exists a transcendental signified. It means a core stable meaning that anchors our reality. And this framework is famously termed logocentrism by Derrida. And this framework prioritizes the logos. It means the word, reason, or divine mind as the ultimate source of logocentrism relies on the metaphysics of presence. It means the belief that spoken words are direct. Metaphysics of presence. The belief that spoken words are direct, pure vessels for thoughts, while writing is merely a secondary flawed imitation. Flawed, F-L-A-W-E-D, flawed imitation. By centering certain concepts, by giving more importance to certain concepts like truth, being, essence, truth, being, essence, God, logocentrism creates a hierarchy. It creates hierarchy that marginalizes anything perceived as outside or other. To understand this concept is to recognize how we instinctively look for or seek a center to give our language and lives absolute stability. Absolute stability. In fact, there is no absolute stability. Deconstruction then begins by questioning. It begins by questioning why we trust this center so blindly in the first place. Logocentrism is that it creates a false sense of security. Derrida argues that we are addicted to the idea that there is a center. We are addicted to the idea that there has to be a center. We need a center like God, reason, science, the sense of self that stays fixed and gives everything else meaning. Derrida dismantles this notion. Logocentrism assumes that when we speak, our intent is fully present. For Derrida, the meaning is never fully there. It's always shifting and dependent on other words. Derrida flips the script on the idea that speech is pure and writing is fallen. With the idea that speech is pure and writing is fallen. For him, speech is actually just a form of proto-writing. It relies on the same system of symbols and gaps. Derrida's the concept of difference is very important. diffference. He has coined this term to explain that meaning is always delayed. Meaning is always put off. Meaning is always deferred and differs from itself. So difference includes defer and to differ. You can never catch the ultimate meaning of a word. Every word leads to another word, just as we see the words in dictionary and we get synonyms. You have the signifier in the form of sign. We look up the word, we get the meaning. In simple words, every signifier points towards signified, and this and that signified again turns into signifier, and this is endless chain. Derrida points out that logocentrism isn't an academic mistake. It's a power game. It's a power move. By centering one thing like speech, we automatically marginalize its opposite. He seeks to deconstruct this idea. He seeks to deconstruct these pairs binary oppositions to show that lesser side is actually just as important as the center. And therefore, he says, it's very famous, oft quoted, there is nothing outside of the text. There is nothing outside of the text. So, if we have to define logocentrism, we can define like this. Logocentrism is the central assumption in Western philosophy that prioritizes, that gives more importance to speech, over writing. It believes spoken language directly expresses the speaker's inner truth or presence, while writing is a corrupt, a distant copy, and this creates a metaphysics of presence looking for a stable, immediate, and origin of meaning. Stable, immediate, and origin of meaning. So, in whole Western philosophy, this you take any example, in most of the thinkers you find this approach. For example, you see Plato in the Phaedrus, that is the work by Plato, where we have the character Socrates, because that work is in dialogic form, the dialogues between the characters. In the Phaedrus by Plato, Socrates criticizes writing as a dead, unreliable imitation of living speech and true knowledge, which resides in the soul's inner dialogue. Similarly, Aristotle stated that spoken words are the symbol of mental experience and written words are the symbols of spoken words. And this is how he establishes writing as a derivative copy of speech. It is imitation of speech in simple word. In the same way, Rene Descartes also had the similar approach. His search for a foundational self-present truth. We all know, I think, therefore I am. His search for a foundational self-present truth relies on the immediate, undeniable presence of conscious thought to itself. What is that? That is philosophical presence. Ferdinand de Saussure, we all know. While analyzing the sign, Saussure described writing as merely an external garment. Writing is merely an external garment for speech, which is the proper and primary object of linguistic study. And Jean-Jacques Rousseau is a classic logocentric thinker. In his essay, The Origin of Languages, he idealizes passionate speech and melody as natural, transparent expressions of the heart. He condemns writing as an artificial. It is an artificial that corrupts society, creates misunderstanding, and distances us from authentic feeling. For Derrida, Rousseau's work perfectly exhibits logocentrism's paradox. He says Rousseau must use writing to lament the fall into writing. So he has to use writing to lament the fall of writing. So there is no other way. You have to take recourse to the writing. There is no way out. So Rousseau, he said, must use writing to lament the fall into writing, simultaneously desiring and distrusting the very medium he employs. This is very interesting. So logocentrism is the philosophical engine that looks for pure self-present origin of meaning. It can be anything. It can be God, it can be consciousness, it can be reason, it can be speech. It consistently devalues writing, difference, and mediation. Writing difference and mediation as corruptions of the presence. And Derrida exposes this as a founding but impossible desire, a metaphysics of presence that structures Western thought. Deconstruction aims to reveal how this longed for presence, L O N G E D, longed, L O N G E D, longed for presence is always already constituted by the very differences and traces it attempts to exclude. It attempts to exclude. This is how we can sum up the very concept of logocentrism, which has been deconstructed by Jacques Derrida. Thank you.